Alright, we're watching a video about 4chan. I personally am way too young to even experience 4chan, but I have heard about it and how basically like the most insane crazies use 4chan now. So let's get into it.
Oh boy, they're going after good old 4chan, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. I want to just kind of keep up the pressure when I talk about the world of internet censorship. Now, I talked about this stuff like probably years ago, and the funniest thing about this too is
If I'm
like,
being completely
it really
honest,
felt like
I feel like out of all the platforms, 4chan is probably the one that should go. Like, it's probably the one that should disappear the most. Like, isn't that just filled with like insane, weird, creepy Republicans or something? Like freaks? Like freaky freaks. Like I can't even see Republicans. Like I don't know, like worse than Republicans, you know?
me and maybe like a few people were kind of screaming into the void. And now, that those laws that I talked about a year ago, now that it's time for those laws to pass and be enacted, suddenly everyone's starting to poop themselves a little bit because the internet's changed so dramatically fast
Like in the past
over
couple of
such
years.
a short amount of time. So to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, I talked about things like that Epstein list, and it's crazy to think that,
Yeah.
people who want this stuff released, you know, all of a sudden, right after all of this, there's other aspects that come into play. I'm not saying that these conspiracies are related, but the censorship wave has happened so fast. We looked at things like Collective Shout not too long ago. We looked at companies like Visa and MasterCard basically deciding what you and I get to buy on the internet. And
I
then all of a
saw that
sudden,
too as
every single
well.
one of these
Like
laws, not just from
PayPal was restricting what you can get on your like that new console, like I forgot what it was called, but that new joint. It's kind of a bit old. I'm not talking about the Switch, but if I can think of it, I'll say it. But right now I can't think of it. But it's for a console. I saw that as well. Not sure how true that is, but definitely like I'll be on the internet, bro. I'm low key kind of I might be a bit addicted, but you know.
the UK, but the United States, Canada, the EU, every single organization comes in. A week ago, we looked at chat control in the EU. They want to try and diminish the security of your messaging. Your
But
messaging,
I'm
not
not
the
really surprised
politicians,
about
not the
that.
people at the top. So all of a sudden, you have to deal with inferior
I'm
technology,
not
insecure
surprised
technology,
about
all because these people want you to
these
think of the children,
decisions.
all that other stupid shit. I don't think anybody at the top cares about the children, okay? I
Of
mean,
course not.
I think we all do. We just also don't want our privacy completely thrown out. So to give you an idea, 4chan was targeted, and even the guys over at 4chan responded. So the 4chaners went and said, okay, through their legal organization, Byron and Storm PC, they said that according to press reports, the Ofcom has issued a provisional notice under that OSA, alleging a contravention by 4chan and indicating an intention to impose a penalty of.
Actually, I do want to say, like, why do you all think like all of this is happening with like the restrictions, the age restriction, the ID, um, these type of things that's happening right now? I think I said before, I think it's because of control. Obviously, like these companies, these big corporations, even maybe like some politicians want to control us and be like a certain way, essentially. That we should be following what they do. It's interesting because it's like control and like a conservative lens. Even like control and like a liberal lens would be like it would still be pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie because Democrats and Republicans are kind of on the same coin. They're honestly almost kind of the same. But yeah, I just wanted to see if y'all have any opinions about that. I may or may not read your comments because y'all kind of scare me a little bit, but you know.
£20,000 sterling plus daily penalties thereafter. So they pretty much say, listen, we're a US company. We're incorporated in Delaware. We've got nothing in the UK. But this is how crazy it is. We have laws from other parts of the world where they can impose fines and sanctions on people on the other side of the
How
world. It's
does that work?
crazy shit. This is why I say, like, look, I'm not from the United Kingdom. Uh, why do I care about this law?
I
Because
wonder how that
ultimately,
works
in the end,
actually.
all these laws, when they're passed,
They're gonna be
just start
affecting us.
attacking each other. It's crazy stuff. Now, I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, why 4chan of all sites? 4chan isn't even as crazy popular as, as it used to be, right? Like, obviously, if you're somebody my age, if you're somebody like who's watched this channel, I'm sure you guys have definitely browsed some of the craziest stuff on 4chan. For me, I love stuff like, X. I love paranormal. I go on this probably every other
Well,
night. And
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised you like X. I'm not gonna lie. He does like some of the things he says definitely comes off as like a bit right leaning, as we all know. X is pretty lately in years has been infiltrated. I can even say that it's been the crazies they came from the depths of hell to be on X. Now it's atrocious. You go on X, you'll see the most heinous, wildest things. But personally, for me, I'm not really like I'm not on. I don't really see a lot of horrible things because that's just how my algorithm is. Fortunately, I know for me. But yeah, I know. Well, heard of like a few experiences where they go on X and they see like crazy shit, bro. Like it's kind of insane. It's like the Wild Wild West, but like make it worse.
the thing about it is that even if you look at things like the reply counts, for instance, like I have it set from like highest to lowest, but some of these things really have just replies on threads of like what, 70 people, right? Maximum. There's not many people lurking here. Why is it that again one of the biggest governments in the world specifically wants to target things like 4chan? Is it because sites like 4chan possess memes or possess, information or discussions that the
That
government doesn't necessarily find all that
that
interesting?
seems stupid
Maybe
though.
that's the goddamn case.
That the Wait, that the government doesn't find all that interesting. Is that what you said? Let me go back a little bit. Just
Target things like 4chan. Is it because sites like 4chan possess memes or possess, information or discussions that the government doesn't necessarily find all that interesting? Maybe
that seems stupid.
that's the goddamn case. But a
That
lot of it
sounds really
has to do with,
stupid.
again, the fact that these
I feel like if the government was not interested in those conversations, they would have just left it there. Unless he meant something else, which and unless he like meant something else by that, but if he meant something else by that, I feel like he would have worded it differently. So that just if that was Jesus Christ, I feel like that would be a stupid reason to just delete that website completely because of uninteresting conversations. That seems ridiculous.
are places where anybody can post. It's basically a social media. And now to get access to most social media, honestly, to get access to most internet sites,
You have
you're
to
going to
give up
have
your
to give
information.
people your fucking driver's license, all right? I really
Well,
feel like these
that
laws, they,
too.
they kind of pushed them in as like, hey, there's a lot of kids, they might come across adult content on the internet. Well, let's ask for driver's licenses. I have seen more regular websites asking for my ID than I have actually seen the adult websites asking for ID. That's crazy to think about. Now, of course,
On regular websites, which to be honest, I don't really. Well, even on regular websites, I haven't been asked for my ID. But to be fair, I guess it depends on the website. I don't know what websites he's going on. And for adult websites, I do know this happened. But to be like, I do know that the big black orange website definitely needs your ID, especially in like the state of Alabama that I live in. Recently, like I think a couple months ago, they've been requiring that you need to give your ID, so no minors fall into the hands of that, which is kind of like, again, these parents need to like watch what their children are doing, or like don't give them a phone if, or like give them a flip phone or something. Like, I don't know, they need to just make sure, or at least like tell your child, like, oh, these things on the internet, they're bad, don't do them. um like, just try and educate them on the internet and how it works and how it functions, so they're able to like recognize what is bad and what is good and what they should be doing and how to avoid these situations, so they won't have to deal with those situations, you know what I'm saying? But anyways.
The only way to fight back, and I don't want to make these videos because, I don't want to be like doom and gloom. Okay, I'm not here to like doom scroll for you. I am here to tell you that there are ways that you can fight back. Government wants to take away your, internet privacy through like taking away things like encryption. Go back to PGP. Send messages in a way where the government isn't going to be decrypting these things or will not spend the resources to decrypt every single message you have. Do you want to share files? You might have to start looking at things like VPNs or things like torrent software. And you might be like, whoa, are you teaching people how to pirate? No, 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 no. Piracy is totally haram. But of course, I use torrent software when I download things like Arch Linux or any project where, it's a hobby project. It's a project made by a small group of people, not big tech. Therefore, they use things like BitTorrent so they can save as much money as they can on server costs and still share files between people, in a way where, again, governments, they have to work a little bit to try and stop this kind of stuff.
mm,
Not to say that governments can't stop torrent software, they absolutely can, but you have to find ways to make things substantially more difficult for them, or at least annoying. Now, it's crazy to go back to 4chan as a website, right? The United Kingdom is trying to enforce their laws on a company that is owned by a Japanese man at this point, a website service that has its business incorporated in the state of Delaware, and from my understanding, has its servers hosted probably around the world, but I believe mostly in the state of California. And yet, they want to enforce their laws
so
on
how
the
would
fucking
that work
Americans,
though? Like,
even
how would that
though it
how
just
like how would
makes
they be
no
able to do
fucking
that?
sense. Now, obviously, when it comes to organizations like Collective Shout, for instance, we're looking at these guys that, initially were bringing the pain to the average gamer. And now they're talking about how, we're at a rise of Gamergate 2.0. They've pulled all these online games from the platforms, like Steam, for instance, or at least had
Yep,
them
okay. That's what it was called. It was the Steam Deck. They PayPal wasn't like, they did something about it. Said the video. I only seen the thumbnail, but it was essentially what I got from it was PayPal wasn't allowing the Steam Deck to be able to, like, I'm assuming, to like pay for certain things, pay for certain games. I'm assuming. I haven't seen the actual video, but that's what I got from the thumbnail. So yeah, I'm glad you said that actually.
indexed. Like all of a sudden, games that were mature, not even pornographic in nature, immediately started getting removed because of viral calls or just, again, annoying campaigns to, again, all these like payment processor teams. And of course, the payment processors decide to shut this stuff down. So to go forward into this too, right? Like obviously when you look at, again, sites like Collective Shout, the kind of stuff they say makes me almost laugh a little bit. Obviously, they expected some level of backlash, given the fact that they were trying to police the entire internet, police mature content for mature individuals. So, of course, they said their small team, small but I guess incredibly powerful in terms of convincing payment processors what to do, abuse, harassment, threats of violence by gamers who are angry about losing their rape games. Even though a lot of games
Huh?
that actually ended up getting removed from this were video games like Vile, where they were actually touching upon serious topics. They weren't just all goofy, haha, visual novel like rape games that they were talking about.
But I'm not
So
surprised that even happened in the first place, because they're not going through they're not doing it properly to like go through these games and make sure that they're actually like the right ones they're going after. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me see. Like, okay, for instance, you know how YouTube is going through like they're trying to get your ID, yada yada yada. They're using their your algorithm to see if you're a child or an adult. The issue with that is that some adults like to watch cartoons. That's his thing. So how are they going to be able to tell who is an adult and who is a child just based on that? There's going to be issues with that. So why don't they just make a better system for that? I don't, or just remove the whole thing altogether. And it seems like what they're trying to do is failing in the same way where they're attacking the wrong things.
Again, they keep bringing up the fact that there's a misogynistic vitriol against them. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there isn't a level of misogynistic vitriol against them too. But they obviously also know that they're on the internet trying to destroy freedoms and take away video games and take away, a paying customer's product. Of course, they're going to get some level of online backlash. That is very much to be expected. But obviously,
I
with
mean,
organizations
yeah.
like this, they always kind of like try turning that around and making themselves the victims, even though they themselves stepped foot into a fucking bear trap and started the wave of internet censorship. Internet censorship really is out of control. But it's not just the censorship that gets me. It's the fact that when it comes to the internet, we now literally rely on some level of surveillance. At least that's where we're headed to in such a short amount of time. It's actually insane. A few days ago when it came to YouTube, right? YouTube
I how do I feel about censorship? Honestly, it was if it like if I had to decide what should be censored, it would definitely be like the podcast bros because most of them have like the worst politics, bro. Like it's atrocious. And I know how that those ideas can like infest someone's brain. I think that can go away. I think, ugh, Jesus Christ. I think Logan Paul, Jake Paul, is that his name? Needs to go away as well. A few other people needs to disappear needs to be restricted off the platform. Aiden Ross, horrible, deplorable. Honestly, he needs to rot in hell. If I'm being honest, like a couple people needs to disappear. Now I understand that people need freedom of speech, but just because you're allowed to say something does not mean you are going to be opt out of repercussions of your actions. Like of course the job that you had fired you, Becky, because you said something racist online. You said it online, and now they're obligated to fire you. Why? Because you make them look bad. Do they actually care? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, they're trying to save their own bag. They're trying to save their own they're themselves essentially. So I'm not surprised, right? I do think that people do need to be held accountable for what they say because those stands can be very destructive. It can be very um especially if you're talking to children, it can be very malleable. Their brains are very malleable. It can be turned into us in very atrocious ways. So you need to be careful about that. So I guess that's why when I try to speak in real life, I have kind of like a bit of a difficulty of doing it because I kind of stop and try to think of something to say. But the thing is, unfortunately, I can't really vocalize it in the way that I want to. But for some reason I can right now. Anyways, back to video. Sorry.
just recently launched AI age verification on its platform. And I believe mostly for Americans, this is a thing, but it probably will come all the way out to other countries. Now, the thing about YouTube is, let's say that you're doing YouTube like as your main money making opportunity. What has happened right now with age verification should slightly worry you. Now, years ago on YouTube, for anybody that doesn't know, there was things like the apocalypse. So if you were 100% on YouTube, this was your income stream, immediately you went from making a good chunk of money and you just lost a lot of it overnight. So depending on how you structured your YouTube channel, let's say that you had employees, well, you had to start letting people go. Let's assume that, you were living
Right.
paycheck to paycheck.
Oh
You
Lord.
probably also had to get something else on the side in order to make this dream of yours actually work.
Right.
Now, YouTube, it seems, is starting to implement just a little bit more of that. So a few people had started getting these messages. We changed some of your settings. We've updated some settings, including turning off ad personalization, because we're not sure you're over 18. So you could have an over 18 account, and YouTube's AI
Okay, so why don't they have a thing where like they since that you're 18, why do they have a thing where they can what's the word I'm looking for? Where they can press a button, not redistribute, re essentially say that you're not 18, so they can re reassess your account to see if they got it wrong or not. Either that, or how do you even know, like, not have this up at all, not have this as a thing at all, because that would just be better. But since we're in it right now, it would just I have too
has
many
now deemed
thoughts.
you
Sorry.
unfit to be an adult. Maybe you watched too much child-friendly stuff. Maybe you tripped something on YouTube's AI. AI is not perfect. The fact that we as a society are using AI to basically monitor every single thing that we do on the internet is just bad. Dude, it was literally this year that over 51% of all web traffic just became complete bots. So when we talk about shit like the
Oh, for
dead
real?
internet theory, there
That's
are more
that's
synths
crazy.
on this platform or the internet as a whole than actual fucking human
I
beings. It's
I also heard about like the dead internet theory. I haven't watched videos about that, but I have definitely heard it. That the internet's dead, but not in the way that he describes it. It's more like people not being authentic to themselves, like kind of way of dead internet. But yeah,
crazy. And there's a good percentage of that that's just bad bot traffic that's taking advantage of the internet in completely negative ways. So to go back to YouTube, this person gets the YouTube considers them to be under 18. So
right.
according to this user, now all of a sudden on the shorts, they start getting, shorts where people have like shit stuck into their hands, like, almost like, I would say like body, very light body gore. You've got, just tits in your face. It's crazy stuff to see. So even the AI and the recommendations engine isn't truly protecting you from that adult content. Here's another user. This guy's just watching a video, yada, 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 having a good time. They got some Warhammer ads. Now, I imagine Warhammer is usually for adults or at least like, teens or something.
I would assume so.
We
Yeah.
couldn't verify that you're an adult. We've changed some of your settings. Okay, so YouTube's AI seems to be flagging people. And the thing about it is, obviously, let's just be honest here. So
Why
a lot
can't
of this is really
exactly? So
also
why
bad
can't
for
we
YouTube.
dispute this?
YouTube has something known as personalized ads, which is where I
Right.
guess a big chunk of the money comes out from. If YouTube can accurately deliver a personalized ad to somebody, they
Why
make
can't they
a
do this? Right.
magnitude more money per ad than if they just randomly threw ads out of nowhere, right? You ever wonder, like, damn, I Googled like butt plugs the other day. All of a sudden, I'm getting fucking butt plug ads. It's because Google and YouTube have such a sophisticated ad engine that, yes, they do cross-site track you. And if you are looking for something here, they'll probably want to advertise it to you on YouTube. And you're probably more likely to click on the ad and maybe purchase the product as if they were just to randomly throw you an ad that you really didn't have interest in.
Makes
So,
sense.
yes, the AI age verification is actually as bad for the content creator if we're talking about the monetary angles of it, the lack of engagement that they can encounter from somebody whose account features have been so heavily limited, but it's also bad for YouTube because, yeah, if you're not able to have every account gathering data for you because of laws and regulations, yeah, it's going to be bad for your site's bottom line. So I just want you to understand, I don't even think that guys over at YouTube are necessarily all that excited for it. There's been a lot of content creators that have been trying to do goofy things, like create like random videos where you can put on an autoplay so that they can just straight up
I've seen
basically make your
I've
account
seen
look
those
as
too. I've seen those too. Um I think I saved it in my watch later playlist, I believe, but essentially you just watch it and then they talk about how this is an 18 plus video. If you watch this, then YouTube will know that you're an adult. That's essentially what it's about. But yeah, I've seen it. Maybe I should watch it just to make sure, I'm good and clear, Maybe you should too. Gee. But I just wanted to say
if
that.
it's
Sorry.
over 18. And there's really no hard and fast rule to this. Nobody really knows how YouTube's AI works other than YouTube, Google, and the guys behind it. So
Right.
realistically, we're just kind of like hoping that our accounts don't get hit. Now, of course, if your account does get hit, you can just provide a driver's license to the fellows over at YouTube, and hopefully they will just overturn the situation. But from what I understand, YouTube can actually hold onto that ID for two
For like
years.
yeah,
So according to the guys over
it said that it will hold that information for I believe about, well, I was gonna say 2 years, but it says maximum is 3 years, and then after that they will delete it. Now in that time, like what exactly are they gonna do with that ID? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they sold that information out to other companies somehow. Okay, so I also heard from a different video that they may, this is like an idea, a theory really. They may like, since YouTube has your ID and they know that you're an adult, that way they may send it out to other websites I mean, ugh, websites, and that way you won't have to sign up for things, right? Since they already know your age and everything, you won't have to sign up, and it'll be easier to just make this purchase or do this or do that, which in theory would be kind of cool, but also like you're giving away your ID, you're giving away your information for literally free. We're not hookers. I need money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want money for the info I'm giving. Okay? But, anyways,
at Google, let's say that you give your ID, right? So to establish your YouTube channel's history, you complete ID and video verifications again. So to ensure individuals or groups don't evade our restrictions by creating new accounts, we assess whether you may have repeatedly violated policies or restrict repeal applications. So Google may save your ID or your video and facial recognition data for a period of time. So how long does that data get stored? It gets stored for a
but why
maximum
does
of
it get
3
held for that
years.
long, though?
Now, according to even Google, I believe they can delete this sooner than before. But the thing
Yeah,
is,
that's what it
that's
said, too.
information stored. Now, thankfully, they say we never sell your personal information,
Oh, okay.
and obviously, I'm gonna have to trust them on that. But I'm hoping that obviously for an organization like Google, being as big as they are, I'm hoping that this information can't be hacked by somebody,
I wouldn't
taken
be
and
surprised
then
if it could
sold on the
be,
dark web or
because
sold in any data breach.
wasn't, I want to say Google, but it could have been another place that was hacked. I feel like I talked about it in a different video, too. I just don't remember what the company was. So,
Out there. Now, obviously, I expect Google to have some good security practices, but no security practice is truly 100% perfect. So you have to be okay when you provide your information to these
mm-hmm.
organizations that they will delete your information, down the road. So for instance, here they even say your ID will be deleted from your Google account within 2 years. It's usually deleted in a few months after you've built sufficient channel history, or after 1 year if you haven't used advanced features. So no matter what, your information's gonna at least be here for
For a
over a month or
year.
two. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have to be comfortable giving your ID to somebody, and they basically hold on to a record of that for a little bit. Now, obviously, I can imagine some of you guys are probably going to go and say, I don't feel comfortable with that, Muda, but what other options are there? Look, a few days ago, I made a video talking about the internet as a whole. And one of the things that I don't like about the internet right now is that it feels like there's 6 websites that basically people go to.
Right.
It really
Monopoly.
feels like a cyberpunk type of internet. You know, when you play a video game and there's like an internet feature in it, and there's like maybe 7 websites you go to max. You know, like, ooh, there's like 7 or 8 different websites. It's like, is that all the people go to in this fictional universe? Is like 7 or 8 websites? How
Right,
really
because
different is that from the real world, right? Like,
everything is monopolized. Google has taken over. YouTube has also taken over. Yeah, that's why it feels small because of the monopoly that they have in the control.
you go to YouTube for your videos. You probably go to like fucking, I don't know, Facebook, God forbid, to talk with like boomer parents. You probably go to like Twitter to like, shit post or like doom scroll. You probably go to Reddit for everything that you could have done with a forum from like the early 2000s. So realistically, one of the things that I did was I also reached out to the fellas over at Odyssey. Now, Odyssey, for anybody that
Is
doesn't
this
know
a
what
paid
it is,
ad?
this is an alternative tech platform. And
I'm
I
like,
actually used to have a
hold
channel
on, let me
on
check.
here. And, my channel is gone. My channel, I talked to
Oh,
them, I had my discussions. They had
I
worked
can't
with me
tell
very
on
quickly,
this.
within a span of 24 hours, to bring my channel not just back, to talk to my 28,000 subscribers on this platform, and also quickly synchronize a good chunk of my content. Now, obviously, I am not going to be using, Odyssey as a primary platform, but I want to use it as a mirrored platform for my content. So I actually asked
Ah,
the company for this, and I got in touch with the CEO and COO really quickly, and they
well, I'm
told
not
me that they are
surprised you
basically
have
owned by
a big following, so I would assume that's easier for you to get in contact with people. But yeah, I like the idea of that though, of putting like your content on like a different platform that isn't like heavily restricted.
a company. I believe it's like Forward Distribution or something, or whatever, and they have apparently 20 years worth of funding to keep this site operating, which is kind of crazy to think about. Now,
No,
obviously,
like
after that, they'll
really, that's
probably need more
impressive.
cash infusions. Running a video website like this is definitely expensive, and that's why there's just not many other people on the platform. But the thing
Mm,
is, a site like this is important because I even asked them about age verification. They said, look, we'll hold out as long as we can, but if laws pass and we're an American company, we have to abide by those laws. But for now, they're not going out of their way to invoke an attack on privacy like other websites are doing preemptively. They're just waiting for all the laws to pass, and they're holding out as much as they can. Now,
right.
ultimately, it's not just about supporting the alternative tech platform, it's about fighting back against these crazy, vicious anti
Now
privacy
I
laws.
have
So,
heard that like since people don't want to use like these major internet platforms, they're going to the indie web and they're making their own like little websites. Like I forgot what it's called, but they're essentially making their own little websites. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I might get into it.
if you're not able to win that, well, the internet dramatically changes in the future. But I do want to hype a site like Odyssey up a little bit because it's the only other platform that I'm on other than YouTube when it comes to my content that I upload. But I'm not on Rumble or any of these other platforms because it's just way too much to keep track of. I'm not really in here for the money, obviously, either. I'm in here mostly for the love of the game. Okay, people can watch my videos, enjoy content over here, and if God forbid, YouTube considers you to be a child and you
Mm-hmm.
have to provide an identification, it's not as if there isn't another repo of content that you can access on my channel. That's kind of the thing that I have over here. Now, even when it came to Odyssey, they said that, just at the end of last year, even YouTube was giving them a lot of like grief over synchronizing content because I really do think, obviously, for YouTube, when they start to see all these other platforms pop up that may be providing in some ways a better experience, it might be better to hamper it as much as you can so people stick to YouTube. And I don't think sites like
That's what I said in my old video too, that YouTube was like doing something to these companies so like they weren't able to get as big, you know what I'm saying? That's what I said.
Odyssey, I don't think sites like Rumble are going to destroy YouTube. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think YouTube will always be a dominant, number one. but I also want to, bring up the fact that there is alternative platforms. We don't all have to use the same website. And when it comes to things like forced identification, right? You've got situations where obviously if you look closely into even Roblox, like we just talked about Roblox like a few days ago. When you start looking at like their VP of civility and partnerships, they're apparently even working with many of these online safety organizations. When you look at multiple
Well,
tech
apparently
companies
it's
and
not
you look at the
working.
boards of those companies, there are VPs of these companies that apparently want forced identification. It almost feels like the elite and the government are almost working hand in hand to systematically destroy the little bit of privacy that we have. And the thing is, the only way to resist this is obviously if you want to use, alternative, sources, you want to use alternative, media, that's a great way, I guess. There's other sites that are not YouTube, that are not Twitter, that are not Facebook, that are not the, default website everyone goes to that allows you to do similar things. There's also platforms like Tor. So if you have the Brave browser, you can just click these three little lines and go new private window. You don't even need to download the Tor browser, but I highly recommend you do. And you can use it to access social media services or, talk.
Is it actually private or is it like Duck? Is that I think it's called DuckDuckGo, where like I heard somewhere where like it says it's private, but it's not really like private. Private isn't really secure for real. So I wonder if it's like that or if it's actually like private, you know?
To people, in a way where you at least have anonymity and you don't have to provide your actual identification and put yourself at risk, like a lot of these government and organizations really kind of want you to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to really talk about it because I feel like fighting back is important. And I feel like
Right.
these videos that I make are important because at least I can teach you some methods on fighting back. Even if it doesn't seem like much, the tiniest struggle that you can provide is important. It's much like Louis Rossman and his Clippy campaign right now, where you want these
I'm gonna be watching a
organizations to
video about that
know
too.
that you know what's up. And you, slowly but surely, you know how to fight back and resist against this insane level of control that's slowly being enacted over us.
Right.
So, yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if
All right. I'll see you on the next video, okay?